everybody. Welcome to Queer Games. Heck yeah, up late. We're right in the thick of the Queer Games Festival, like putting it together. So it's been a big day, um, and bizarrely, my way of relaxing is to play some queer games and stream them. Um, I'm Luke Miller. I'm a dev, helping out with the festival, taking screenshots. Desperately taking screenshots. But you don't know that. For all you know, I've got it all together. I'm really, you know, I can't even pretend anymore. Let me have some water. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you had a good day, or I hope you're about to have a good day. I hope you're having a good week. I hope you're having a good month. I think this will be on YouTube in January, so I hope your 2023 is going really well. If there's an asteroid, don't tell me about it. I'll find out soon enough. Um, but yeah, let's get into it. Today's game. Today's game is Nameless. Uh, but what's it called, you're asking? Well, it's nameless. And you're like, well, that's not good enough, Luke. It must have a name. And I'm like, no, guys, listen. It's called Nameless. The name of the game is Nameless. Um, that's what we call it. That's not. That's what we call the name. That's not its actual name, though. No, no. I tried to do a little Alice in Wonderland thing there, which people don't really get unless I think you're a programmer or a mathematician. And you're used to pointers and abstraction. So it's like the name is nameless, but we call it something else. Yeah, I've garbled that. All right, let's get into it. I know nothing about the content of these games. The great thing about queer games, heck yeah, is we come in completely blind, which is a fabulous way to do it, I think. Exciting way to do it. Um, so if you don't like surprise content, look away. But frankly, I just know you're on the edge of your seat about what magical land we're going to today. I'm reminded a lot of like the Magic Faraway Tree, which was these books I had when I was like a real little kid, like 6 years old or whatever. And it's about this tree that goes right up into the clouds, and every depending on how the clouds, they can go by in half an hour, or they could sit there for like a month. And on top of each cloud was a different land, and you never knew until you stuck your head up through the clouds. And I think Queer Games Heck Yeah is a lot like that. Like, we just don't know what kind of magical land we're getting into. It could be like comedy, it could be hardcore, dark, you know, everything's terrible, you know, I hate myself. Or it could be like, sweet romance. It could just be super cute. It could be like a moth running around with a beetle. Um, and I have to say, I can't really tell from the opening title what we've got. I mean, it's giving me high fantasy vibes, like very elven kind of thing. But we did play one earlier in the Queer Games Heck Yeah run called Captive. A single word, elvish visual novel. Who knows? Oh, this has got the Departed cycle underneath it. Uh, wow, the glow from those eyes. That's a really lovely little. I want to say programming trick, but it's probably like they've done it graphically rather than programmatically. But it's good. It's a good looking effect. I was going to say, like, I see an Elvish game and I go, oh, it's going to be cute and fun, but Captive was quite dark. Right, Nameless. Here we go. I've punished you long enough. Let's get into the actual game. I don't hear any sound. I don't hear any audio. Let me check the levels. Yeah, I mean, the microphone's good. I'll turn it up and see if there's anything. Nah, there's nothing. Oh well. Check the settings. Graphics Ultra. That's pretty cool. Audio. Well, it seems to think there's music and voices, but I'm not hearing anything. Maybe it'll come up. Alright, maybe I've gone deaf. The first night we met was a night for lies and introductions. I love these particle effects. I'm quite old school programmer, and so particles, they're still new for me. I'm like, They've been around for like 30 years, but they're still new to me. Great text box. I know we're not doing the text box thing anymore. That was like, a few weeks ago, but I love it. All right. The man slipped out of the woods like a wraith, all sinew and smiles. He hovered at the edge of the firelight, half cloaked in the deep night around us both. Who goes there? Nameless. Oh. I'm sure I heard something just then. I'm going to turn the volume right up. Maybe I've... There we go, I heard something. Okay. Now I don't know how loud. Okay. Just a lone traveller, looking for a warm place to spend time with. Company. We're also taking screenshots. It's the main reason we're here, so pausing every so often. This is less of a broadcast and more of me just doing my homework, and you can all watch it. Fascinating, isn't it? Look, I never promised it was going to be a good stream, okay? There were hints of his strangeness even then. I squinted to make out the subtleties of his expression. But the way the firelight caught at the creases in his face left him an enigma. Like there was something unseen just below his skin. I love the way the text fades in. That's so nice. So many games, it comes in letter by letter or chunk by chunk, and it fakes, this has actually got a genuine fade in effect. And once again, I'm loving having the dot at the end of the sentence rather than like down here where I normally put it in my games. So I'm going to try and one day move to this model. It made me think of my own body, aching with travel in a way I had never ached before, a reminder of old prices I'd chosen to pay. But pay I would. Is it just me or is it just in one ear, the audio? Yes. I mean, it could be my computer. Ah. Okay, try that. Ooh, there we go. Stereo. Terrible. But pay I would, all my tolls without complaint. Yet, in that moment, all I could feel was the bone-deep reminder. Sorry, still figuring it out.
You have a name?
Oh.
Lone traveler.
Voiceover. I can take a break. Oh. The word traveller stuck between my teeth and hissed out in a puff of air. I had met many travellers, and this man was not one of them.
Call me Nameless. That's what everyone calls me here.
Well, now I don't know what the audio levels are like for voice and my voice, so I think I might be a little bit louder than the voices, but that's, you get what you pay for. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn the voice up. Oh, it's already up. Okay. Well, I'm going to turn the master volume up and the effects and music down, just to give the voice a little bit. There are others in the Umbral Forest?
No.
Then who calls you by this name? Myself, the shadows between the trees, the distant wind, if she's feeling friendly.
I see.
Oh.
Nameless. Well met.
He laughed, and the sound made me shiver. It was clear and wicked, like the sharp end of a sword hitting a bell. Nobody meets well in the Umbral Forest. True enough. And you are?
Isra Almazi.
Nameless stepped forward gingerly, the light wrapping around him in an ember-soaked curtain. They're cute together. They're a cute couple. Oh. Bare toes were the first thing I saw clearly before they sunk into the thick covering of the forest floor. His nails were golden red. He's giving me Tom Bombadil. You know that character from Lord of the Rings? That's not in the films, but is in the books. His body flowed down, fiery hair bouncing around his thin face as he stepped closer and took a seat across from me. The light caught the shifting movement and made him look as if he wore a halo of flame. Oh, the guy's eyebrows are animated. That is a nice effect. Did I invite you to share my fire? I tried to say it sternly, but my desire for company softened the words. Oh,
Well, well.
ah, yes, pleasantries, fair and noble traveller. Sir Almasai of the unnamed lands beyond these woods, would you like to share this fire and my company? You speak as if you own my camp. Nobody owns my camp. Nameless didn't answer, instead letting silence hang in the air. He tilted his head to the side in consideration, earrings tinkling softly with emotion. The wicked little curl of his lips didn't falter. How very insolent. In the old days, I had seen that gaze 1,000 times. I knew from the itch between my shoulders that he oozed the confidence of a man who did not know what he toyed with. Where had he said I was from? The unnamed lands? Now that was interesting.
No.
I would hardly call the lands beyond unnamed. I think we figured out Nameless is not really big on names. That's pretty obvious. Nameless shifted, leaning forward, body taut with the still potential of a wound spring.
Really?
Then what would you call it? Just outside these woods? The luminous plains.
Ooh.
The luminous plains, do they glow? I mean, they've got 1 billion particles on them, so yes. An irksome question. I looked at him, unsure if he was toying with me. He was leaning forward, face flushed with boyish excitement. It's getting late. It's late at night. I felt a surge of irritation. Why should I have to speak of the place I had spent a week travelling across, being bitten by glow bugs and coated in incandescent pollen? So it does glow. It very glows. It's super glowy. If he wanted to lay claim to the title of traveller, he could travel there himself. Just go and look. A day's journey at most, and the answer is yours. Maybe I should. I'd rather you told me, though. I prefer imagining. He looked into the fire, the crackling heat sending embers into the air. He was picking at the grass, his lips pushed into a nearly suppressed frown. Oof. I felt as if I had denied a child a bedtime story. Let me just fix that. It's kind of dark here, but the screen is quite bright. Thank goodness. Nobody had the right to slip between slyness and innocence like that, to lay guilt on top of the weariness in my bones. I don't know, if I'm in an enchanted forest that's got a bad reputation, and this impish, shoeless, nameless entity just rocks up and starts to kind of entice me, I'd be like, is this how travelers are not coming out of the forest? I'm just saying. This is how, when the actual adventurers come through and the previous adventurer is just a skeleton, covered in moss, this is how it happens. So where do you go, Nameless of the Umbral Forest, if you do not set foot upon the plains? This place is plenty large for travelling. Spare me. A traveller in his own lands is no traveller at all. I mean... He blinked slowly, gaze slipping over to my worn boots. I had pulled them off and placed them near my bedroll.
Why don't you tell me a story?
Why don't you tell me a... Oh, refuse to tell him a story. Agree to tell him a story. I'm loving these particles. I've never seen particles used in a visual novel like this way before, as kind of the foreground element of the text box. It's not distracting. It's a bold choice, but it works, I think, because they're quite pretty. And I certainly love how they've kind of they've done this little peek here. Was that 1/5, or that's 1/5 rule of fifths or whatever? It's nice. Refuse to tell him a story. Agree to tell him a story. What's the good drama here? I kind of expect that he wants to tear our head off and eat our brain. So a story. Let's provoke him if we can. Isn't that what travellers do around a fire? Tell stories? As I said, you are no traveller. Neither are you. Then what do you think I'm doing here? I clenched my fist and hardened my expression. I could feel my stomach churn with irritation that threatened to boil over into something uglier. I think you're searching for something. You stink of need, the desperate kind, the kind that gnaws at dreams and feed on nightmares. I guess what's interesting about it is that from our perspective, we know nothing about either of these two characters, and it's interesting to me that we've kind of got this mystery character in Nameless. But what are we contrasting that with? We're contrasting it with this other character who may as well be nameless to us because we know nothing about who he is, where he's from, where he's going, what he wants. I mean, they could just be about to explain it, but, I gotta call it as I see it, people. You dare speak to me. I'm trying to, and I'm having trouble getting their voices. Like, not to do, like, a character voice, as in to say it, but actually I'm struggling to kind of hear their voice. I stood, towering over him. The boiling feeling intensified. Then he looked up at me, and a chill crept into my bones. I found myself frozen in that glowing gaze of his. He stood up as well, and I no longer felt as tall. With sinuous grace, he stalked over to me and breathed in, his eyes never leaving my face. Yes, desperate need, and... His brows furrowed, a flash of confusion crossing his face. Something older. Is that... Enough. Sit back down. I will tell you your story. He obliged, the undercurrent of threat evaporating from him like mist. The ease at which it had left him unsettled. The ease at which it left him unsettled me more deeply than if the potential for violence remained hanging in the air between us. No, I kind of didn't quite get that thread. What have I done? Oh, that's alright, that's good. I thought of Bastion, fevered and lost, tucked under those sheets that would be his burial cloth if I failed. My boy. Okay, now we're getting into it. We're searching for a cure for our Bastion. But instead of a cure, we're going to find an alternative, a Bastion replacement. Could I truly afford to deny this man such a small request when I needed information so desperately? Do you know anything of the Burnished Empire? That name is too new for me to know it. Yeah, he's totally Tom Bombadilling me. He's been around forever.
But what's a name, really?
But what's a name, really? Nothing. I should read out the... whatever. The Empire is over 300 years old, he shrugged, and it was too controlled to be anything but feigned. Maybe I forgot it then. It holds no meaning in this forest. I grunted, tired of his weak attempts to hide his ancientness. If anyone could see it, it would be me. What are you? Oh no, Almazi, not unless you tell me what you are first. I'm a man. You're as bad a liar as I am. You might smell like one now, but you weren't always. I can smell that too. I'm a man now, and that's all you need to know. But I did not push him on his origin, and he did not push me further on mine. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Go on then. Tell your story.
Very well.
I live within the Burnished Empire with my son, on the outskirts... Oh, Bastion's not a partner, it's a son maybe. On the outskirts of a small village, away from the cities and their filth. I thought that would keep him safe. Keep us safe.
Really?
You have a son?
Bastion.
I do. His name is Bastion. I can see it conjured up before me as if by magic. My vision of what happened 2 weeks ago, painfully vivid. My mouth was dry. More great particle effects. These game devs are the particle monarchs. My mouth was dry as I told Nameless of my greatest failure, my greatest shame. How else could I find clues to what I was seeking? Bastion, where are you, boy? 2 hours since he'd run off to play in the underbrush. It wasn't how long he was gone that made me worry, but the silence that permeated everything when I called for his return. A scream would have been more comforting than that cursed silence. Oof. There I found him, a a curled and shivering body. It didn't seem possible. He was always smiling, so full of movement and life, even when he tried to sit still. This could not be my boy, but it was. When I scooped him up, he felt smaller and more fragile than I remembered. Only 10, a child who had escaped one cruel fate on the streets of the capital for another found lurking in a rotten log. I ran to the shaman as fast as my legs could carry me. It's good you brought him here, Isra, but I'm afraid it may be too late. I hit the side of the wall, rattling the ingredients and baubles that hung from the ceiling and sat scattered across her shelves.
No!
What do you mean? He still breathes. The shaman hesitated, then pulled up Bastion's sleeve to show me a vicious-looking mark. It was huge and red, but I could see the dark tendrils beginning to form under the skin where 2 little pinpricks sat. This is the bite of a vermilion wanderer, a spider so named after the venomous Beast King who gifted them with such a deadly touch. Thanks a lot, Beast King. While she spoke, she moved around her hut, pulling ingredients off the shelves and placing them carefully into her mortar and pestle. I can stop the venom from killing him outright, but that is it. I cannot cure him, and it will remain in his body until he withers away and dies. There must be something. Tell me, Arania, what can I do to aid you? I need to help him. Her grinding stone stopped. With deft and careful fingers, she scooped up a thick paste and smeared it over the bite. Bastion didn't make a single sound beyond his laboured breathing. There is one thing I have heard. What? Tell me. Find the first creature whose sting could steal away breath. If you're able to retain its heart, it can be used to heal your son. It is the only heart strong enough to ward off a bite like this. We have to cut out the Nameless's heart? I volunteer.
All right.
And where must I go? To the Umbral Forest. Legend has it that the venomous Beast King lives there. Beast King. There are also whispers of a shadow and a strange man whose company brings curses and misfortune. I've already been cursed once. I see no reason to fear a second one. I will save my boy. She shook her head and looked at me as if I were a fool. Perhaps I was. I can watch over him, but he will still not awaken. I can watch over him, but he will not awaken. I advise haste. I would give him a little over a month before he succumbs, even with my aid. How do I get to the Umbral Forest? Follow the red star, the tail of the constellation.
I care nothing for the name of the stars.
If the red star will tell me where to go, then I will follow it. That is all I need to know.
So tell me, Nameless, have you heard of this King of Venom?
No. But I have heard of a stranger who brings misfortune.
Oh. That wicked look was back, yes. I imagine you have. He turned serious. I also know of the shadow. It is real and present all around us. Ward your dreams and watch your step, Almasi. He likes tricks even more than I do. Oh wow, more parts. This game is giving me particle life. A gust of wind blew across the clearing, violent and forceful. Dust and dead leaves made me squint. This is twice in this game he's squinted. I mean, you know, if he's trying to appear sexy for Nameless, I don't know if I'd be squinting. I'd be glaring into the dust. My fire flickered with the strength of the sudden gale, and for a moment I saw Nameless's face contort into a glowing mask of rage. Oh, then he was gone. Oh. You showed yourself quickly this time.
Visage!
Leave me be. You can't even give me one conversation free of your corruption. I wanted to remember the campsite, the feeling of someone looking across dancing firelight at me. He wants the same thing they all want. But his boy, you've always been a fool, but I never thought you an idiot. Until now. People lie. Then I'll gut him like a pig if he tries to take it. My heart. There's nowhere for you, nowhere except here, with me. I'm loving this. These two are so cool. He twined himself around me, an undulating darkness wearing my own face. His lips pressed against my ear. I tried to shove him aside, but it was like, wafting away thick smoke. Everything about him clung to me, in my lungs, my eyes, my skin. I was starting to wonder if he was me. Had we ever been something separate? I glanced back, glanced back. I looked back through the trees where Almasi still stared into the flames. Oh, how pathetic. You're planning on watching over him tonight. How I spend my time is none of your business. You're such a sad little voyeur. Should I send him sweet whispers for your amusement? Leave him be. Remember the healer woman, the one in the plate armor? Didn't you like it when I made her rip off her own face? Oh, visage. Stop. But then the memory was already there, the screams, the way she cursed my name. Gods, had I really made her laugh with me the night before she died? I couldn't remember what joke I'd made, but I'd been so proud of it. Poor Nameless. I realized not Nameless, he's not the imp I thought he was. He's the one in trouble. I lashed out at him with razor nails. Don't be afraid to use your nails, boys. He passed through his torso and tore deep scratches out of the tree behind. The shade breathed in, and I felt a dagger of ice deep in my soul. Maybe I'll show him something similar. Then you can bond over the memory. He was gone in the same fit of wind that had summoned him. He was somewhere, hiding in the silence now, watching. I should tell Almasi to go. That he couldn't find his treasure here. Maybe it would be true. After all, I didn't know the venomous beast he searched for even had a real heart. Oh, Nameless, you've got a heart. I can tell. Oh, wow. This is the dream, right? For father, it won't leave. My son was shaking, fingers pressed just below his eyes. Bastion. I'm not real. Look at me, father. I'm not supposed to be here. His fingers started digging into the sides of his cheeks. Blood streamed in dark rivulets from the gashes, curving towards his lips and dripping across his open mouth. I rushed in to pull him close to my chest. Oh, I'm not real. He shook his head back and forth, splattering red across my shirt. Wow, this got dark really quick. I placed my palm on the top of his head, the way I always did whenever he was sad, so I could push him away because he was annoying me. Why did you make me this way? You've cursed me. It's your fault. The words cut, my deepest fear spoken. I could only hope this was not a true sending. The world flexed around me and I could see the edges of this nightmare. If I pushed, I could escape it. Oh. Keep dreaming? Wake up. Oh. This is like our first choice in like half an hour. Oh, it's confused me. Let's wake up. I want to talk to Nameless some more. I think staying asleep may lead to madness. Bastion. I cried his name aloud before I even knew I had woken. I shuddered, coated in a clammy sweat. I felt ill and sluggish, like I had overheated then cooled too quickly. As if the dream itself still clung to my body, I wanted it off. There were streams that cut through this forest. Bathing would not be amiss. Dawn light filtered through the trees, pushing the shadows in my mind back to a fitful rest. Carefully, I began to pack away my bedroll when I froze. A glistening red hair was caught in the fabric. Oh. Half expecting Nameless to walk out from the brush, I glanced around. Nothing. Was that heaviness always in the air? I felt more watch this morning than I had when I first entered the woods. Perhaps it was the creature that resided here in shadow, the one that Nameless spoke of. I kept an eye out for traces of the beast in the woods while I made my way to the stream. Nothing but stillness. The silence made me... I like the backgrounds, but the backgrounds are doing a lot of work in this game. The character art doesn't seem to change much. The silence made me wonder if there was something vicious just beyond my sight. Oh well, having said that, and then boom, they give us a little sugar. The water was cool and refreshing. I scrubbed furiously, as if scraping at my skin could remove all traces that could dream. The character art is really good in this game. I know I was just saying, oh, there's not enough of it, but I think it is better to have a few characters done really well than to like have way too many characters and spread yourself too thin. Damn, Bastion's dad's got it going on. I would not shiver in the face of nighttime spectres that I had long ago learned to banish. there was a rustle in the trees. Although we don't know what journey. I mean, it's hinted at that, Bastion's dad has come a long way. There was a rustle in the trees, and the sensation of being watched intensified. It happens every time he gets his shirt off. But then I looked forward to the source. But when I looked towards the source, there was nothing but a swaying branch. I think that was my sign that I'm actually. I've hit my half hour, and I'm. Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. But we're going to end it there, because I have hit my reading limit. I think that's a Renpai game, but... Alright, that was the briefest look at Nameless. Queer Games, heck yeah, we only have about half an hour in the game just to get a flavour of it. Maybe entice it. I think if you like visual novels, definitely give this one a go. It's on itch. I think it's about $10, which is a pittance. That's less than a meal at a fast food restaurant these days. And you get quality. You get great particles. There's a lot of mystery already. Like, I really don't know. I guess I don't know the rules of the world. I guess every fantasy world has like different rules of how the magic works and how the society works. And that's always one of my favorite parts of like science fiction or fantasy is figuring out the rules of the universe. And I think this game what I really appreciated about this game was it just didn't do that big dump at the start. So many times you play a game or you read a book, you watch a movie, and the first 5 minutes is just like a big essay about, you know, the two characters are just talking to each other about the world, and you'll be like, it's much better to sort of dribble it out because I think people are smart enough to pick it up as they go. But yeah, I can't. That was a really fun little game and quite polished too. Like once again, to me, this game has the best particles I've ever seen in the festival. Which I know that doesn't sound like you're probably going when you think of the things I love about queer games, like the politics or the queer representation, or mental health or contemporary autobiographical, non-violent, anti-capitalist, like just all of that kind of like all the stuff we think of as queer games. For me to highlight the particle effects doesn't seem, what I would normally focus on, but they were notably good. And I don't mind highlighting the things that make a game just stand out a little bit. Alright, well, I'll see you next time on Queer Games Heck Yeah. We really are beginning to run out of games, I have to say. Because I got my spreadsheet with my list of randomized games and I've been working my way through it. And we're up to... I'm just going to double check. Where's the tab? I have so many windows open at the moment. So there are 74 in my list to look at. And we've just hit 70. This was game number 70. But a lot of them, I think there's about a dozen that wouldn't run on my computer. And there are a few I skipped just because I don't know, you just kind of sometimes you're like, oh, I've only got half an hour. I think this will take half an hour to set up or something. And so you go, I'll come back to it. So I'm not saying there's only 4 games left, because I do want to try and go back to some of those ones that didn't run and just try something to get them going. But yeah, we're definitely, I'm gonna say it officially. We're in the end game now of Queer Games Heck Yeah. We're on like the end is in sight now that we've hit 70 out of 74. How's it gone? I guess I feel I've had mixed feelings about it. Like the games have been sensational. The games have been so good. Like the quality this year is just absolute next level. I don't want to like every year it gets better, I suppose, but I feel we've had like a next level leap this year. And I think part of it is my own theory. I've got nothing to back it up. Is that this is the year we're seeing entries from people who have grown up playing queer games. So the first few years of the festival, it was very much like people who had a story to tell or they had a game they wanted to make, and so they've made it. Um, and it's been a queer game. But now we've got people, so that like I've got a story to tell, so I'll make a visual novel. But now we've got people who've grown up with visual novels, who they love visual novels, and so they're making like a next generation visual novel, or they're making like a next generation Bitsy game because they love Bitsy games. And it just kind of shows in like it's not necessarily that they're better written or that the art's better or anything like that, but there's just a real kind of like smoothness to the games this year. Like it's just I feel like the game literacy is just really high this year, and I'm just kind of blown away by it. Like I don't know if you've watched other videos, I do go on extended rants, I guess, but they're genuine. I just really love them. I love them so much. But having said that, streaming it's not easy. I think finding new stuff to say each week or each VOD. Also, you know, it's you don't want to deliver any clunkers. So sometimes you hold back a little bit. I've tried to be honest. Like I've tried to be a bit stream of consciousness. Like when a game has made me think of something, I've said what it's made me think of. Because I think you've got to approach it with an open heart. But at the same time, it's a bit like, oh, I don't particularly like being that open. Um, I do like just to have this little snapshot on YouTube of like one of my, you know, that time of the year where I just play a lot of queer games. It's nice to have that kind of on the record as it was. So that's been good. Um, Only getting like half an hour into the games, that's been tough. You know, yeah, I don't know. There's pros and cons. It's a lot of work as well. Because I do find that I'm talked out for the day. Like if you stream for an hour, that's the kind of person I'm like, well, that's my talking. I'm done. So I don't feel like I particularly want to talk after this. Um, yeah, and I guess there's also this parallel bit where I'm kind of like working on my own stuff, and then I'm doing this thing with these other devs, and it's like um, reward for effort, because it is a lot of effort, and part of it is like, am I setting myself on fire to keep other people warm? I don't think I am. I think I'm on the right line of like good volunteering versus like excessive volunteering. But I am conscious that I'm up against the line of just the amount of work that goes into it. There you go. I'm giving you a little late night spiel about what I like and what I don't like. But I do love it so much. I mean, how can you fault just these little gems, these little non-corporate, heartfelt, rough around the edges, but still super polished gems? It's just like, I can't believe my luck that I've sort of stumbled onto this scene. Alright, I'm gonna go have dinner. Have a good night.